Welcome back to High Stakes. Today, we will be discussing the following NCAAF matches that is happening on Saturday, September 9, 2023. We will be providing our team, total and prop picks for the day. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. If you want access to our premium picks, you can check out our Patreon page. You can find the link to our Patreon page in the description and comments section below. Miami O versus Massachusetts. Miami Redhawks minus 6.5 points. Miami was on the wrong end of a 38-3 beatdown by Miami, FL, in the Battle of the Miamis. As you can tell from the final score, the Redhawks weren't able to get much going offensively. They racked up just 215 yards while going 2-12 on third down attempts. The loss pushed Miami to 0-1 on the season, and they failed to cover the plus 16.5 point spread. The total came in just under the pregame mark of 45.0 points. The trouncing at the hands of the Hurricanes wasn't too much of a surprise, considering the massive spread of 16.5 points. Miami will need to bounce back here if they have ambitions to clear the preseason win total of 6.5 wins, O-175. They'll lean on veteran quarterback Brett Gabbert to lead them there. The upperclassman went just 12-21, 57.1% in his season debut, but that's an outlier against a tough opponent. Gabbert has been a solid option throughout the years, amassing 6,386 yards through the air while adding a 45-14 TD-int ratio. The defense is where the Redhawks make their hay. Last year, they ranked 66th defensively, allowing 386.1 yards per game. That may seem like a lot, but Miami also ranked 36th in scoring defense, giving up 23.3 points per game. So, it's safe to say they stepped up when it mattered. Matt Salapak will look to lead the way in the middle of the defense. The linebacker racked up 124 tackles last campaign. Despite my desire to identify a favorable angle to support UMass at home in this situation, I regret to admit that I can't seem to find one. Therefore, I'm backing Miami to secure a victory in this game and cover the 6.5 point spread. One significant factor in my decision is the anticipation that seasoned quarterback Brett Gabbert is eager for the opportunity to face a defense as vulnerable as UMass's. UMass has consistently struggled defensively and appears to be following the same pattern this season. In their first two games, the Minutemen have conceded a staggering 89 points. While we may expect a high-scoring contest, I believe Gabbert and his offensive unit should be capable of extending their lead by at least a touchdown. It's worth noting that UMass has a track record of 7-13 against the spread in its last 20 games and a less favorable 1-5 ATS in their last 6 September matchups. I envision Miami securing their first victory in a thrilling fashion. Let's not overthink this one, give me the over. Another compelling reason for my skepticism regarding the Minutemen is the potential absence of their starting quarterback, Taysom Famichin. Nonetheless, they do have an experienced upperclassman in Carlos Davis ready to step in. In fact, the senior performed admirably in relief during last week's game, completing 6 out of 8 passes for 106 yards. I anticipate Davis stepping up admirably if he is called upon to lead the team. Conversely, as I mentioned earlier, I believe Miami will exhibit a strong offensive performance. They are transitioning from facing a Power 5 defense in Miami, Florida, to taking on a UMass unit that has surrendered an average of 475.0 yards over their first 2 games this season. Looking back to last season, the over has prevailed in 4 out of the last 5 UMass games, including a perfect 2-0 record for the over so far in the 2023 campaign. Western Michigan versus Syracuse, take the Orange to cover at home. Last week, the Syracuse Orange opened their season with a completely dominant 65-0 shutout win at home against FCS Colgate. The win set a program record with 7 touchdown passes to 6 different receivers as Cuse crushed the Raiders on both ends of the field. The Orange threw for 406 yards and ran for 271 yards while allowing just 52 yards in the air and 54 yards on the ground. Syracuse started last season in incredible fashion, going 6-0 to start the year, but finishing 7-6 with a poor finish to the season, going 4-4 in ACC play, capped off with a 28-20 loss to Minnesota in the Pinstripe Bowl. Last season the Orange scored an average of 27.7 points per game, ranking 70th in the nation, and allowed an average of 23.1 points per game, ranking 41st in the nation. They averaged 231.9 yards per game passing and ran for an average of 142.5 yards on the ground. They allowed an average of 184.8 passing yards and 143.8 rushing yards per game. While both teams secured victories last week, they did so through vastly different approaches, leading me to anticipate Syracuse dominating this game and emerging with a substantial win. In their previous outing, Syracuse displayed comprehensive superiority on both offense and defense, achieving a resounding 65-0 shutout against Colgate. Their defense allowed slightly over 100 total yards of offense from Colgate, while their quarterback set a program record by throwing 7 touchdowns to 6 different receivers. This impressive feat was accomplished by 2 different quarterbacks. Conversely, Western Michigan, despite clinching a 35-17 win, faced unexpected challenges against St. Francis PA in a game they were expected to win comfortably. The Orange compete in a significantly stronger conference and boast superior talent compared to Western Michigan. Given these factors, I believe Syracuse should easily secure victory by a margin of at least 4 touchdowns, covering the 23.5-point spread. Take the over in this game. I anticipate a high-scoring contest in this matchup. Syracuse showcased their offensive prowess last week against Colgate, amassing an impressive 65 points, successfully surpassing the over in their game. Remarkably, they achieved this offensive outburst while their defense kept Colgate scoreless. On the other hand, Western Michigan encountered defensive struggles against St. Francis, a team that wasn't expected to pose a significant challenge. I envision Syracuse's offense shining once again against the Broncos' defense. While Western Michigan managed to score 35 points last week, I don't foresee them replicating that level of offensive output on the road against a much stronger Syracuse defense. However, I also don't anticipate Syracuse posting another shutout, and I expect both teams to find success in putting points on the scoreboard. UTEP vs Northwestern. Take the Miners to cover. UTEP has started the season with a 1-1 record. The Miners dropped their opening game on the road to Jacksonville State 17-14. In their last game, UTEP defeated Incarnate Word at home 28-14 on Saturday, September 2nd. The Cardinals and Miners were tied 14-14 at halftime, but UTEP was able to make the adjustments needed in the second half to take the win. The Miners outscored Incarnate Words 14-0 in the second half. The big highlight for UTEP was Torrance Burgess Jr. peeling off a 40-yard run for a touchdown in the first quarter. Burgess Jr. went for 85 total yards in the game, but the number 1 running back for the Miners was even more dominant. Dean Hankins rushed for 174 yards on 24 carries. He did not score a touchdown in the game, but his ability to get through the Cardinals' defense and reach the red zone was the biggest difference in the game. The best thing that UTEP showed was their lack of turnovers in the game. They did not turn the ball over, but they did force a turnover on defense. Turnovers were a massive issue for UTEP in their loss to Jacksonville State. The Miners turned it over 3 times, and the Gamecocks made them pay for it. The defense for UTEP has been solid as they have allowed just 275 yards of total offense to Jacksonville State and 308 yards to Incarnate Word. The Miners' offense outgained their opponent in each game. The concerns that emerged from Northwestern's recent performance against Rutgers are likely to persist in this upcoming game. In their previous matchup, the Wildcats struggled to advance the ball effectively, and apart from Gallagher, their defense faced difficulties in preventing their opponents from reaching the end zone. Additionally, Northwestern's limited rushing capabilities raise cause for alarm. If they cannot establish a balanced offensive approach, UTEP may opt to drop back in coverage, potentially dominating on the sidelines. Furthermore, the potential absence of Lawson from Northwestern's lineup could exacerbate their challenges. UTEP has exhibited strong performance from their running back group in the initial 2 games of the season, accumulating over 200 rushing yards, with 3 different running backs sharing the load. This suggests that the Miners can exploit Northwestern's defense on the ground and control the game clock, making it difficult for Northwestern to mount a comeback. All in all, I believe UTEP is well prepared and capable of performing strongly in this contest, especially if they can maintain their solid running game. Both teams in this matchup do not possess particularly dynamic offenses. Consequently, I anticipate a game in which the clock keeps ticking, especially as UTEP aims to establish a ground-based offensive strategy throughout the afternoon. When Northwestern is in possession, their emphasis on passing is likely to result in shorter possessions, ultimately returning the ball to the Miners more frequently. The pace of each drive is expected to be deliberate and methodical for both teams, which should contribute to this game, resulting in a lower scoring outcome. Moreover, it's worth noting that the under has prevailed in the 3 games collectively played by these 2 teams. Based on this trend and the anticipated style of play, I believe the under will continue to be a prudent choice for this upcoming Saturday's game. I recommend taking the under in this matchup.